Just what in the hell is going on up in the sky in this first video? So here we see a group of folks hanging outside watching the sky because something just doesn't seem right. The sky is bright blue. The thing is, it's not daytime and everyone's pretty shook up about it. Especially when the sky suddenly turns dark again, as we can see here. Now, clearly there is a storm. I mean, you see some subtle lightning flashes in the distance, there's dark clouds up above, but this was one serious flash of lightning, if that's even what it was. I mean, it really does look like there was a glitch in the sky, and then suddenly it became daytime for a few moments and then went back to normal. And here are some images of the sky that night. That looks pretty insane. If I saw that, I would definitely think the apocalypse was on its way. Funniest comment on this one, by the way, could be one of those high-powered flashlights. Yes, high-powered flashlights, known to do that to the sky. Can you make any sense of this next clip? Weird. Snow filling up the reflection in the mirror, but panning to the window, to outside, there looks to be no snow falling. I really wish snow worked this way here. I mean, it looks lovely when you don't actually have to go outside and shovel it, walk through it, drive through it, shiver through it, clean up all the snow residue you inevitably drag into your house. If we really are living in a simulation, I would just prefer, this type of glitch to happen more often, is all I'm saying. Is that too much to ask for? The bird in this next video comes from Blue French Horn 26, who said that her daughter's boyfriend was on his way to lifeguard training when he spotted this. Just what is wrong with birds lately? This is not the first bird stuck in midair video that I've seen online. And what's interesting about this clip is the dude behind the camera is not the only one who notices that something is off. One guy had gotten out of his car to take a picture. So it's interesting that people at different angles saw the bird and noticed how weird it was. I say this because some commenters said the bird may have been suspended by fishing line or something, which is possible, but you certainly can't see any sign of that in the video. What do you all think of this one though? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. We usually talk about planes disappearing on this channel, but this is something else entirely. A plane that seems to just be sitting up in the sky. This one comes from TikToker Tanya.Draws, who was driving down a road in Chicago when she spotted the plane, and according to her, it was not the first time. What's crazy about this one is how low the plane is. I've seen other videos where people bug out about a plane seemingly frozen in the sky, but the plane is usually way higher up in the air. Easy for optical illusions to happen in that case, and while this could be an optical illusion too, it is just interesting to me how close this plane is. I mean, we get a nice, clear view here. Anyway, regardless of the explanation, it just looks super weird. This next video got a lot of people talking about a year back. So a man named Eddie from Fresno, California, going by Break and Pop on TikTok, posted a video showing the reflection of this orange Corvette C8 in the window of a strip mall. The thing is, no one can find the actual car in the parking lot. Eddie pans the camera across the lot multiple times, repeatedly asking, "Where is this car? I seriously don't see the car anywhere." This one went viral. Hundreds of commenters trying to make sense of what they were seeing. Eddie even included the text "glitch in the matrix" and asked in the caption if anyone could explain what was going on. Some said it was proof that we're living in a simulated world. Some eagle-eyed commenters also pointed out some other strange details about the video, like two mannequins on a bench and this weird bird bath sign that led one user to joke, "Do birds even read?" It seemed like there was just a lot of odd stuff about this parking lot. So this next one is pretty creepy. A TikToker named Laughter Awaits posted this clip of a woman seemingly frozen in place. And the pair behind the camera are understandably totally dumbfounded by what they're seeing. Not only is this woman standing perfectly still, but her legs are crossed. How do you stand in this? I know you can't see me, but just imagine I'm crossing your legs, if you will. This video also goes on for over a minute, and she would have been standing like that before they started recording. Whoever this person is, she would be amazing at red light, green light, but all of a sudden, she just unfreezes and continues to walk like nothing happened. Very strange. Imagine seeing that at night though. You just look outside your bedroom window and she's there, just mid-stride, frozen in place. Those blinds would be getting closed. This next video comes from Lynn's No Hands, who wrote in the caption, "Why are all the same cars parked in this empty townhome neighborhood?" Very good question, Lynn's. Let's take a look. So, yep, as the caption says, it's all the same car, different colors, sure, but same type. And they're all backed into the driveways. None are facing the other way. Pretty weird stuff. And I don't know about you, but whenever I'm driving past neighborhoods like this, I do get a weird feeling anyway. It's just, a series of boring houses, all identical, just repeating over and over and over again. This, of course, takes it to a whole other level, though. I mean, I don't know, did someone just buy this entire neighborhood and then turn it into a car dealership? Your guess is as good as mine. So back in 2023, a TikTok video posted by user unknown1575489, very catchy title, started making the rounds online. This video shows a person walking down a busy sidewalk, or rather, not walking. As we can all clearly see, this woman appears to be frozen mid-stride. It's not a still image. There are cars driving by. This person seems to be just stuck in place. Then moments later, the person just snaps back to reality and starts walking again. This video racked up more than 5.5 million views, with thousands of comments diving into theories. Most of them, of course, pointed straight to simulation theory, with users joking that this person was like an NPC in a video game. And yeah, I can't say I don't get some cyberpunk glitch vibes from this video. What's odd is that her hair doesn't even appear to move at all. It's one thing for someone to just stand as still as they can, but that bit is just extra odd. The hair not moving. And according to the uploader, she'd been standing like that for about a minute before he even started recording. So did this fish just learn to swim in midair? This video comes from TikToker Ruben.v.irs, and yeah, I do not know what the hell is happening here. So we watch as the water drains from the tank, but this fish doesn't go down with the water. It just stays at the exact level it was before, swimming around in the tank, just not with water around its body. Some of these things are really hard to describe in words, and here it is from another angle. And here, you'll notice that there are other fish in the tank, and they float down with the water as it drops further and further down the tank, because, that's just how gravity works. But this one fish zips from the bottom of the tank to the top, where there's nothing but empty space. Pretty cool video. Just what in the fork is this? Posted by Nico Too Swift. He and his siblings watch as this fork does what no fork has done before. I sat down for a while trying to form the words to describe what I'm looking at, but I just gave up. I mean, you can see what's happening. Now, not only is this very weird, but reading the text, this was all filmed at his brother's place, which, according to him, was haunted. So apparently this was not the only strange thing they'd experienced at this house.
Friedrich Valentich was an experienced pilot living in Australia. On the morning of October 21st, 1978, he embarked on a solo flight from Moorabbin, Victoria, Australia to a nearby island, Kings Island. In total, the flight should have taken no more than an hour, and the weather was pretty pristine, so it should have been a fairly easy flight as well. No clouds, little wind, beautiful day. The journey started out pretty mundane, but partway through, Friedrich radioed into air traffic control, and he informed the men on the ground that there was an aircraft tailing him, to which ground control replied, "There are no other aircrafts in this area." But Friedrich insisted that someone or something was hot on his trail. A little while later, he informed them that the aircraft was no longer behind him, but actually hovering above his plane, and a short while after that, he radioed in for the very last time, to say something along the lines of, "It's on top of me again, and it's not an aircraft." His final message was followed by 17 seconds of radio silence, and then some horrible metallic screeching noise. After that, nothing. Friedrich Valentich was never heard from again, and neither his remains nor the remains of his aircraft were ever found. While many people attribute Friedrich's disappearance to the presence of a UFO, many others believe that it's entirely possible he was sucked into a wormhole that carried him into a different version of reality, where he made it to Kings Island and all is well.
In 1978, Stephen Kubacki, a 23-year-old student from Michigan, went skiing in the countryside. He was a seasoned skier, so it was unusual when he went missing. His friends reported him missing after he failed to return, and search teams were sent out, but there was just no sign of him. After more than a year, 15 months exactly, he was suddenly found though, 700 miles away in Pennsylvania without any memory of where he'd been. What's really strange is that Stephen Kubacki couldn't remember anything about his disappearance. He was found in a place he had never been before, and he had no idea how he got there. He was also in surprisingly good health despite being missing for over a year. Kubacki described a sense of having been in a different world or place, but he couldn't provide any clear details at the time. His story was incredibly strange because he had no visible signs of injury or distress, and the weather conditions had been relatively mild during his absence. So just what the hell happened?
This next story comes from Reddit, and it goes like this. One night, my friends, we'll call them E, C, W, and K, were at the gas station. K got out of the car and went inside to buy some stuff. About 7 minutes later, E and I are sitting in the front seat, and we see K walk out and come right up to the car. But as soon as he's about to open the door, he disappears into thin air. We had a clear view of the store entrance and everything else around us. I didn't think that E saw the same thing I did until E turned to me very confused, asking if K just came out of the store or am I crazy? And I said, no, you're not crazy, I saw him come out too. My other two friends, W and C, said they weren't even paying attention. But about 5 minutes later, K came out of the store, and as soon as K got in the car, I asked him if he had already come out of the store, but he said no, he'd been in there the entire time. So basically this guy's saying that his friend disappeared and then reappeared moments later in a different location. I'm not sure if this is a case of cross realities or a time glitch, but either way, super spooky.
The case of Brian Schaefer has to be one of the strangest missing persons cases in recent history, or even all of history really, seeing as there's so much video evidence and yet no definitive answers. A medical student from Ohio named Brian Schaefer disappeared in 2006 while at a bar called the Ugly Tuna Saloona with friends near his campus. Security footage from the bar showed Brian chatting with a couple of women outside just before 2 a.m. before entering the building, and that's the last piece of security footage there is of him. Brian Schaefer was never seen again. The footage clearly shows him walking into the bar. There's just no footage of him leaving it, even though the cameras should have captured his exit. This has led to all sorts of theories, of course. Some people think he might have been abducted or that he found a way out that wasn't captured by the cameras, but in that case, where would he have gone? Had he possibly been involved in a crime of some sort or secret activity that led to his disappearance? Well, possibly, but there's never been any solid evidence of that. It's like he just slipped into a wormhole or something.
This next story also comes from Reddit, and it goes as follows. About 6 months ago, I'm sitting in the living room of our tri-level house, and I see my roommate walk up from the basement, turn the corner, and walk down the hallway to his bedroom. Haas, our American Bulldog, is following him. I needed to tell my roommate something, and so I got up and followed Haas, who was following my roommate down the hallway. Me and the dog get to my roommate's bedroom, I turn the corner into his room, and he isn't in there. And the dog is looking up at me with the same confused look on his face. At this moment, I turn around to go back downstairs, and here comes my roommate, walking up from the basement in the exact same manner, fashion, whatever that I had just witnessed. And then Haas, the dog, starts barking at him. The user goes on to say that normally he would attribute this kind of crazy thing to sleep deprivation, but that the dog's reaction just made it feel so real. Like the other Reddit story, it's up for debate as to whether or not this is a time glitch or a crossover of realities. Also, like the other Reddit story, super weird. I would probably be questioning my reality a little bit if this happened to me.
Burmeasia Island. This is a very curious little oddity. So there's supposed to be a small island located in the Gulf of Mexico off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula called Burmeasia. It used to be on maps dating back to the 16th century, but it seems to have vanished. The island first shows up on maps from the late 1500s. It was also mentioned in all sorts of historical records. For a long time, Burmeasia Island was considered to be a legitimate place. It was even used to help define maritime borders in the Gulf of Mexico. But by the late 1800s, it seemed as if the island had completely disappeared. And in 2009, a Mexican government search team confirmed that no island matching Burmeasia's description could be found in the Gulf of Mexico. So, what happened? Was it destroyed or submerged after a big storm? Possibly. Or is there a stranger possibility? Could the island somehow have been shifted to another dimension? Or maybe this is a very extreme case of a Mandela effect, where in one reality the island was there, but in this current one, it never was.
James Tedford, 56, and his wife Pearl Tedford were living in Vermont at the end of World War II. After his service, James returned home to learn that his wife had completely vanished, seemingly into thin air. He questioned neighbors, friends, family, and even got the police involved, but no one could figure out where she had gone. The only information they were able to gather was that she was last seen walking to the Ameco store when she suddenly vanished. After spending a few years looking for his wife, defeated and lonely, James checked himself into a soldier's home. Just 2 years after that, he vanished. He had boarded a bus from Vermont back to the soldier's home, but before he ever made it to his destination, he disappeared. All 14 passengers who boarded the bus recall seeing him, but he was gone by the time they reached their stop. Only his luggage remained, neatly tucked away into the luggage rack. No other stops had been made along the way, so it didn't make any sense that James had just disappeared. Unless, of course, he somehow slipped into another dimension, hopefully one where he and his wife lived happily ever after.
In 1975, Travis Walton, a logger from Arizona, and his crew had finished up a long day in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest. As Walton and his crew were driving home, they suddenly spotted something, a bright red light in the distance, hovering over the trees. They decided to drive closer to investigate, and what they saw was something none of them had ever seen before. They were completely awestruck. Hovering above them was some sort of aircraft, and it was definitely not a helicopter. Then, in the midst of all this shock and confusion, Walton decided to get out of the car to get a closer look. His friends yelled at him to get back in the truck, but he continued walking closer, and that's when he claimed he was struck by a beam of light from the mysterious aircraft and lifted off the ground. And that's when the rest of the crew, understandably panicked, sped off. But as they drove further and further away, they knew they couldn't just leave him there. They rushed back, but Walton was now nowhere to be found. Of course, the police were contacted and the search for him became a major story, but no trace of Walton was discovered for 5 days. Then suddenly, he reappeared, confused and disoriented, but he was there and alive. Walton's explanation for where he'd been was pretty harrowing. He said he'd been taken inside a UFO where he saw beings he described as aliens who attempted to experiment on him before he fought them off and escaped deeper into whatever this strange craft was. And then he woke up and was back in town. His account was detailed, and he, as well as the rest of the crew, passed polygraph tests. This incident became one of the most famous and well-documented alien abduction cases in history, and was even turned into a book and film, Fire in the Sky.
On December 17th of 1976, Harold Holt, the Prime Minister of Australia, vanished after going for a swim in the waters of Cheviot Beach near Melbourne. Holt was 59 at the time, but he was incredibly fit and in pretty peak athletic condition for his age. Yet to this day, no sign of the Prime Minister has ever been found. No remains, no clothes, no note telling anyone where he was going, no sign of struggle, nothing. He simply vanished without warning. While there are some theories that suggest he fell victim to riptides, like I said, his remains have never been found. Other theories claim that he might have been taken by the Soviet Union or even a Chinese submarine because of his support for the Vietnam War, or even that he was abducted by aliens. But of course, there is one more theory. It's the theory, it's the reason why you clicked on this video, and that theory is that perhaps he slipped into an alternate reality where he spent the rest of his days living a simple life on the Australian countryside. One can only hope.
The Sauter family case is one that's been baffling people for decades. On Christmas Eve in 1945, the Sauter family's home in Fayetteville, West Virginia, caught fire. The parents, George and Jenny Sauter, and 4 of their sons and daughters managed to escape, but 5 others, Maurice, Martha, Louise, Jenny, and Betty, were presumed to have been trapped inside the house, never making it out. But the thing is, no remains were ever found, which led to all sorts of theories, starting with the Stoddards themselves, who weren't convinced that they died in the fire. And while this could, of course, just have been a case of two grieving parents not wanting to accept the truth, there are some interesting details about this case. What the parents believed was that the missing youngsters had been kidnapped and that the fire was a cover-up. There were some suspicious details, like the phone lines having been cut, and witnesses reporting seeing a strange man near the house shortly before the fire. And over the years, the Stoddards started receiving mysterious tips and supposed sightings of their sons and daughters. They even had a private investigator look into the case, but unfortunately, no solid evidence was ever found. What you're looking at here is obviously police inspecting a crashed car, but this was no normal car. This is known as the Siri Ghost Car case. On December 11th of 2002, multiple calls came into the police about a car swerving off the road and crashing into a ditch near an exit ramp in Surrey, England. Police show up, expecting to find a fresh crash and maybe help a driver in trouble, but they find something stranger. At first, the officers don't see anything unusual, it's just another crash site, but as they get closer, they spot this old, overgrown vehicle. And they do find the driver, but he's no longer alive, and hadn't been for a long time. And I don't mean hours, I mean months. It was the body of a man named Christopher Brian Chandler. He'd been missing for months. Based on the state of the car and the body, the police quickly determined the crash had happened 5 months earlier, back in July of the same year. Christopher's family confirmed that he had been missing since then. So the question was, what were people actually seeing on that cold December night when they phoned the police? There were no other accidents to be found. Some people believe they were seeing a sort of ghost car, a glimpse into another reality. Could it have been a time slip where the crash from the past somehow overlapped with the present moment? Some people think the reports of a crash were from a parallel universe or timeline, and the car appeared in real time for just a brief moment before disappearing. No one really knows for sure, and we'll probably never get the full answer, but it's a perfect example of how strange the world can be, and that maybe there's more going on than we can ever hope to understand. Now, what you're looking at here is known as a cold spot, deep out in space. Back in 2004, astronomers detected an anomaly in the cosmic microwave background, or CMB, the faint afterglow of the Big Bang. This cold spot is noticeably cooler than its surroundings, spanning approximately 1.8 billion light years. At first, scientists attributed this to a vast, empty supervoid, a massive region with fewer galaxies, but studying it further using more precise measurements, there's some doubt about that explanation, suggesting the void might not be as large or as empty as they thought. Well, so what does this mean though? Well, the discrepancy has led some researchers to wonder if the so-called cold spot could be the result of our universe colliding with another universe during the early stages of cosmic inflation. A collision like that could have left an imprint in the CMB, giving us possible evidence for the existence of parallel universes. This is the Antarctic Impulsive Transient Antenna, or Anita for short. It's a NASA-funded experiment designed to detect high-energy cosmic neutrinos by capturing radio waves emitted when these particles interact with the Antarctic ice sheet. During its flights, Anita spotted several events where particles appeared to be traveling upward through the Earth instead of coming down from up in space. Scientists were very confused because that's not supposed to happen. Particles like neutrinos had never been seen passing through the Earth like that. Well, one hypothesis is that these anomalies could be explained by the existence of a parallel universe where the laws of physics, including the direction of time, are reversed. In this scenario, particles originating from a mirror universe could travel upward through our planet. In 2019, scientists dropped what looked like a blurry orange donut onto the internet and basically broke science Twitter for a week. What people were seeing was the first real photographic evidence of a black hole, snapped by the Event Horizon Telescope. Now, what we're looking at isn't the black hole itself technically, because physics just won't let us actually see the thing. What it is the glowing gas and light bending around the edges of the black hole. That ring is the Event Horizon. a one-way ticket to nowhere. Or maybe somewhere else. See, theoretical physicists like Nikodem Pawlowski think that black holes might not just absorb stuff into nothingness, but may instead be gateways to other universes. His theory says when matter collapses into a black hole, it might not get crushed out of existence, but instead get funneled into an entirely new universe on the other side. Like, imagine every black hole being the Big Bang for a different reality. It's all based on some deep theoretical physics. No one can prove it yet, but it does fit in with the idea about multiverses and bouncing universes instead of just one big beginning. So yeah, maybe this blurry space donut isn't just a hole, maybe it's a door. What you're looking at here is a piece of what's called Curian Photography. Back in the late 1930s, a guy named Simon Curian figured out that if you zap something with a high voltage current and take a picture of it, you get these weird glowing outlines around the object. Plants, apples, people's fingers, suddenly they all looked like they had some kind of electric aura around them. It was like photographing life energy, or maybe something from some other reality bleeding into ours. Now, people still argue about what this actually shows. Some say it's just moisture or static or whatever. Cool, noted. But we're here to talk about the weird and unexplained. So others think this glow is something deeper, a glimpse into another layer of existence, something we can't see with our eyes, but might be there all the time, kind of like the Force. Some even claim these energy fields shift with your mood or health, and if you believe the more far-out theories, you're literally watching energy from another dimension react in real time. No one's ever managed to fully explain it, but the fact that a basic electrical rig might be snapping pics of alternate layers of reality, that's the kind of stuff that does keep you up at 3 a.m. scrolling deeper and deeper into the weirder parts of the internet. Back in 2007, a security camera at the courthouse in Santa Fe caught something weird early in the morning around 7 a.m. On the footage, there's this glowing white thing, kind of round, kind of shapeless too, just drifting across the frame. It wasn't fast or anything, just sort of floating there. People online immediately started calling it a ghost. Obviously, I mean, what else are people gonna say? Well, some said it looked more like something out of phase with reality, like we were seeing a bleed through from somewhere else entirely. The way it moves doesn't look like a reflection or a glitch. It looks like it's there, just not in the way anything else usually is. Of course, the official explanation was that it was a bug walking across the lens, and sure, it could be that, but what do you think? Does it really look like a bug? People in different parts of the world have filmed what looks like two suns in the sky at the same time. One bright sun and then a second one that looks slightly smaller but still glowing like a legit celestial body. Naturally, a lot of people are pretty confused about this. Some folks say it's just a lens flare. Others say that nope, that was actually in the sky. So scientists have looked into it, like Jim Kaler, an astronomer from the University of Illinois, who says it's probably some kind of atmospheric optical illusion, light bending in weird ways because of moisture or temperature layers in the air, but even he is not 100% sure what the hell's going on. Mirages usually stack vertically, like one image above the other. This double sun thing is side by side, which makes a little less sense, so no one knows exactly what causes it. Grant Perry, another scientist, flat out said this is not a common optical phenomenon. So yeah, maybe it's just a weird trick of the light, or maybe we're seeing something that we can't even begin to comprehend. So this one is pretty wild. There's a CCTV clip that's become pretty well known for how downright bizarre it is. A guy is walking down the street at night. A second man enters the frame in front of him, at which point the first guy does something super weird. The guy in the back taps the dude in the front on the shoulder right as a car whizzes by and a metal object swings out as the guy in front is about to get swatted with it. If it weren't for the tap, he would have been hit, no question. The guy who does the tapping seems completely unfazed though. He's not panicking, he doesn't even look back to check if the car's about to hit him. How did he know what was about to happen? It's also strange because he doesn't even say anything. Doesn't stick around to be like, oh damn, wasn't that nuts? It's almost like he knew exactly what was going to happen and was just doing his part to stop it. And then he's out. Naturally, the internet lost its mind with theories. The most popular one, the guy giving the warning is a time traveler. Maybe he's from the future, maybe a version of the guy in front of him from a different reality, trying to make sure his past self doesn't die in a freak accident. Could this be a huge coincidence? Maybe, but maybe not. So this is some straight up NPC behavior, except in real life. So a guy in Omsk, Russia wakes up one morning and can't find his flock of sheep. Usually he expects to find them right where he left them, but not today. He goes out looking for them and to his surprise finds the entire flock of sheep standing on top of a roof. Now there's no obvious way for these sheep to get up there, no secret sheep elevator that we know of anyway. The man assumed they'd somehow gotten spooked by something and just climbed up the roof. How the hell do a bunch of sheep get up there without making a noise or causing a ruckus? It's like they just teleported to the top, like an NPC glitch in a video game randomly appearing on a roof. Next we have Spaceworks. Orcs standing for odd radio circles. So what are these? Well, they're actually what the name suggests, massive circular blobs in space that show up in radio telescope images. And no one really knows what they are. They were first discovered in 2020 when astronomers were mapping the sky using Australia's ASCAP radio telescope. These huge rings appeared out of nowhere, perfectly circular, massive in size, and didn't match anything scientists had seen before. They aren't galaxies, stars, supernova remnants, or anything that usually pops up in space surveys. Some scientists think they might be the result of huge explosions or collisions far, far away, cosmic shockwaves that left behind radio footprints we're just now seeing. But others think they could have something to do with galaxies which have active black holes at their centers. And then there's the more exciting possibility that orcs might be a sign of something completely new, some sort of phenomenon we just don't have a name for yet.